And that's when I realized, like, holy shit, so we do actually have a scene in the UAE. And oh yeah, that being the first gig, my goodness, the chaos that ensued over there. People were breaking their heads through the roof, like jumping in the mosh pits and jumping and crowd surfing and all that stuff. Back then, in a place in Dera, just imagine. It's absolutely insane. But yeah,
That's Aaron Wadia of the UAE based metal act Cypher. Aaron and I go back in the day, so I'm going to keep this introduction short. Hey everyone, welcome to the Trendcrusher podcast. I'm Peter K, aka Trendcrusher. Most of you listening may not know, but I actually adopted the name Trendcrusher of a friend of mine that I met, Roy. He was doing a zine called Trendcrusher, and I really liked the name, so I kind of asked him if I could borrow it and use it to do a radio show when I was based in Canada. Close to 20 years later, you're listening to a podcast titled Trendcrusher. While I was in the UAE, I also came across many underground bands, and Aaron was a member of one of them, and we struck up a friendship, one that has lasted close to 2 decades now. In this chat, we reminisce on that time, the UAE scene back then in the mid 2000s, a lot of the gigs that we attended at that time, but also touch upon his latest band, Cypher, and their future plans. Here we go. Okay, I think this has been long overdue, but welcome to the podcast, Aaron.
thanks for having me, man, Peter. I mean, like, when's the last time we met, to be honest? That was Tesseract? Shit.
Yeah, probably.
It's been so long now.
Yeah, but it's
Yeah, it's good
strange.
to
I
see you,
mean,
bro.
and it's strange because like we've known each other for so long. I was trying to jog my memory to one of the first times we met, or at least the first time I heard of you, right? And uh, the reason, and I'm giving a heads up to a lot of our listeners, is because I'm just going to put it that Aaron and I know each other for like close to 15 years. So a lot of
Yeah.
our conversation may seem like two friends catching up, talking, getting nostalgic, but hey, that's the episode you've kind of tuned into. But I thought let's do like quick introductions and how we kind of remember each other. I actually met you in person first time, thanks to our common friend. Shout out to Vineet. And I think
Yeah.
Vineet and you were in Billy Bob's at that time. Uh,
Yeah. Yeah. My
that's
God, that was 15 years ago?
no. So I think that was
Gee.
around, I think less. But before that, I know of you, right? So Billy Bob's is
Yeah.
the first time we met. Uh, but prior to that, and please, I know this is an audio only podcast, but I'm pretty sure if you could imagine, Aaron will be cringing when I say, I totally forgot that you were in a shot of adrenaline. till some
Yeah.
pictures kind
Yeah.
of resurfaced of that recently on social media. So then I kind of realized, hey, wait, this is the same guy kind of joining all of that. Uh, I don't
Yeah. I
know what.
mean, iconic blonde hair. So, yeah. Ah, good times, man.
But yeah, I mean it, and I know we I said we're gonna get nostalgic, but like let's go back, right? Because I'm gonna throw names which a lot of people may not know. I think some of it you may find shreds on the internet of like say certain SoundClick pages or stuff like that. But what was like your introduction? If you could quickly take me back to introduction to say metal, and then your introduction to the UAE scene, right? Because I think that was
Yeah.
something for common with all of us.
Yeah. So, I mean, oh God. We would have to go back to when I was in 10th grade. So that would roughly be if like I don't know my dates very well, but it was 2008 if I recall, or probably 2006. That's when the whole mindset with music suddenly took a complete flip. And of course, I started off listening with your usual Slipknot, System of a Down, but the spiral went so badly out of control that I jumped from Slipknot all the way to Cannibal Corpse. So there was
Wow.
no break. Yeah, there was no break in between at all. And obviously, because I got into Cannibal Corpse at that time, that's when I said, oh, bass sounds like a lovely instrument to play. Even though a lot of people still consider, we all know people consider bass as the backing instrument, or people just don't hear it anyway. So, but ultimately, I picked up a bass and I started off playing. Actually, I started off playing in 11th and 12th grade. So it was a good trajectory. But then when college started kicking in, that's when the real mindset came into playing live. Of course, back then we didn't have all the Spotify and all these different platforms where people were releasing singles at the time. I mean, at this time. But back then we were just like, let's hang out, have fun, make some music, drink some beer, and just go nuts on stage. And if I go all the way back, yeah,
Which college were you in Dubai?
Manipal, in
Oh, you were in
Manipal.
Manipal. Mahe, yeah, I
Yes,
remember
yeah,
that. The Academic
yeah.
City
Oh,
campus, right?
exactly, exactly. My God, that was a nightmare, but that's a whole different story. That's why I think I chose to get into music more once I reached that college because, yeah, it was yeah, whatever hair I had on my head at the time, which was long blonde hair, even that I wanted to pull out. So I transferred all my energy into playing music and creating music and, just trying to just make music and have fun. That's it. This was the only mindset I had at the time. But of course, when actually started out in college, it was with this band called Dark Sanity. It's a band that did not last long because of yeah, a lot of conflicting issues within the band. But that band, that's when I actually met Ratish. That was the first time I met Ratish, who was like
Wow.
a baby at the time. He was a baby who used to get screamed at by his mom every single day for banging the drums too loud. But that's how it all started. And from Dark Sanity, which didn't really last that long, we played a couple of live gigs also, which was a huge surprise, to be honest. But then once things went downhill with that band, me and Ritish just went on to say, you know what, let's just give up on this. And that's when a shot of adrenaline started. Now, a shot of adrenaline, of course, also had Salman. And by the way, Salman is still playing music, which is amazing to see. By the way, AKB is playing come, I think, in 2 weeks' time.
Wow.
So yeah, so they're also coming back, which is a huge surprise. We all know that the new metal is coming back suddenly out of nowhere. So I think it probably gave them a good chance to also kickstart their career again. But again, so Dark Sanity went on to a shot of adrenaline that lasted a very, very long time. We had literally the best gigs. The crowd was amazing at that time. I mean, like it's too nostalgic, and like I'm literally getting goosebumps just thinking about what insanity we used to have in those gigs. First of all, we were all young. First of all, we were all doing pre-drinking stuff because we were most of the time not allowed to drink at these places. And of course, we had a front man named RD. So yeah, it was a chaotic band put together. And it was, yeah, and it was deathcore at the time. So deathcore was a big thing, yeah, during those years. So we instantly, became a hit with all the kids. And yeah, that lasted for, I think, maybe 5, 6 years, if I'm not mistaken. Like I said, I'm
Wow.
very bad with my dates. So, but also while a shot of adrenaline was going on, we had Discord going on the side. And yeah, we all know how Discord was. It was, yeah, technical death metal, absolute insane, insane band with talented people. I mean, even then, back then when I was with Joe Shumps, God rest his soul, unfortunately, we all know also what happened with Shumps. But the fact that we met Nishit at that time when he was with this Yamaha guitar, your starter Yamaha guitar with your starter amp, which is like, that small square thing. And we kicked off making all this crazy music in a shithole in Sharjah. So yeah, it's like so much was going on. But again, like I think straight after Discord and a shot of adrenaline was going on, I think it started overwhelming me at the time because with college and with all these bands and not having enough time to yourself, I literally backed out of Discord. Like even
Hmm.
though Discord is the music that I want to and love to play, like I said, if you put Cannibal Corpse and Tech Death, it's pretty obvious what sort of music I like to play, what sort of music I like to listen to. But the reality was that I was having more fun in a shot of adrenaline. So I stuck with that. Unfortunately, that also faded out because we know how Dubai is as a country. People come here, they work, they do their schooling, etc., and eventually they all leave. Like it's a fact when living in Dubai or in the Gulf for that matter. But yeah, this is how life has been. But then from that day forward, I completely stopped playing in bands. Like stopped. I think for like 10 years, maybe 10, 12 years,
Wow.
probably. So like I took a huge hiatus. And now you come to present day, where I'm sitting with this prog band. From where to where I've come, like freaking melodic deathcore, tech death, and then suddenly went all the way to prog. I think also that comes with age, right? You
Yeah.
start liking better, not better, I would say you just start liking simpler things. I mean, but prog is not simple to begin with. So it's just that if I talk about now, current day and age, I love what we're doing with Cypher. And also the fact that this stems from my history lesson, which I'm going through right now, is that I used to sing in school from like when you're talking about from fourth grade until all the way till the end of my years, till 12th grade in schooling. But when I say I'm singing, I'm literally singing stuff like which is music, like all your pop music, all your R&B stuff. So taking again, you come back to the present day, which is with Cypher. I have full freedom to sing. So ultimately, I chose that route, and things are looking pretty good for now. I'm going to be very honest, and I'm very happy that I'm in this band, and that too also again, it's with Nishit again. So
Yeah.
it at least is going in the right directions for now. And yeah, we can touch more on that later on.
Wow. I can't
Yeah,
believe like
big
in a
history lesson.
yeah, you did like a quick history lesson of like
Yeah,
almost that spans 2 decades. But
yeah,
I thought let's break it down, right? I mean, there's so many kind of different things we can touch upon. And I think I kind of forgot about you being part of Discord because like I mentioned, our common friend Vineet
yeah,
was in the band and Joe, and I still remember
yeah,
like those Sharjah sessions. Post that, like y'all would jam, come up with stuff, and I would get an email or this is like pre WhatsApp days, right? So I just get an email saying,
yeah,
"Check out this track. What do you think?" Oh, we're planning this. So I have like multiple just demos of sorts there. But let's start off, and I'm definitely going to play some of these songs because I don't think any of it kind of exists other than like in few people's inboxes and stuff like that.
yeah,
Is
yeah.
while you were kind of getting into this, and especially let's go back to like the college days where you got in. What is the first UAE band you remember kind of listening to playing any sort of metal? And when did you realize that actually there was bands who were in UAE playing metal, not just like your Cannibal Corpse and stuff like that?
So if phew, I mean, in reality, I knew there was a band called Aboard,
Hmm.
but I really didn't know them personally to make like any judgment as such. I've heard their music, obviously, and I was like blown away at that time, thinking that, oh my God, there are bands like this in Dubai. Like, who are they trying to fool and all? I'm sure they're not based out of here, blah, 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 all this stuff. But the real band that I saw at the first was Coat of Arms.
Oh, wow.
That was my first band, yeah. And I was like, what? This is crazy. And also, I remember, I think at that gig, asking Alexandria played.
No way.
This was back in the day when they were still based out of Dubai. And that's when I realized, like, holy shit, so we do actually have a scene in the UAE. And oh yeah, that being the first gig, my goodness, the chaos that ensued over there. People were breaking their heads through the roof, like jumping in the mosh pits and jumping and crowd surfing and all that stuff. Back then, in a place in Dera, just imagine. It's absolutely insane. But yeah, going back to your question, yeah, I it was coat of arms for me.
Crazy because
Yeah,
so before I talk about coat of arms, right? If you haven't heard the episode I did with Serge and Praveen from uh, Aboard, I'm gonna link that in the show notes.
yeah,
That's a complete different history of Dubai, and that's like the
yeah.
early 2000s when they
Mm,
formed. So if you haven't heard that episode, do check that out
I
because
will
I
for sure.
remember they were in Dubai, I was in Abu Dhabi, so it was like, how do I say? It's like what you said, right? Like you've heard the music because we still had access to the internet and
Yeah,
you had fry.com and all of those websites,
yeah,
but you didn't really know like who these people were, right? Because I think they were also slightly older in college while we were still in like school and stuff like that.
yeah,
Uh, Common connection with actually Coat of Arms. I remember when they were formed, Bainuni, I think was not, he was from Dubai, but
yeah.
Liam, who was their bass player at that time, was in Abu Dhabi and
Mm,
he would travel and he was actually at the School of Audio Engineering in Dubai. So I would keep seeing him and so it was crazy to see him like transform from this guy who was just studying audio to now the band and stuff like that. And tidbit for you, which I don't think I've told you, but someone actually has uploaded the Asking Alexandria early album, that first album that they released.
um,
I think this was Hitesh Gandhi on drums. Uh, and other than Ben, it was everyone who was from Dubai back then. Um, Someone has uploaded that album, and I found it. It's interesting just to listen back to that because to whether you whatever you thought about emo, screamo, whatever you want to say, that's I feel like talks about hey, this was happening in Dubai and no one had any idea, right? And at that time
yeah,
also, I remember even till like 2009, 10, nobody realized how big Asking Alexandria would become to what they are, right? And it's just crazy to see that journey then. Uh, Going back to what you were talking about and those Dera gigs, I call that era, especially because they were all ages gigs. And I think I was
yeah,
still 18, 19. I don't think I'd hit 21 as yet. I call those gigs the banquet hall gigs. And
yeah,
it was very
man.
simple. Somebody
Yeah,
went in, made a deal with a hotel, somehow rented the banquet hall. Everything was DIY. Like this was fucking DIY
yeah,
to its core. PA, monitors, equipment, people bringing in everything, and you'd have literally like a 4 or 5 band lineup. And
yeah,
I till date have no idea because this is like if since we worked in marketing and stuff, right? This is a case study in itself. You just needed to post on certain websites and there'd be like 200 people show up from where I
yeah.
don't know. I mean, I don't know if I've spoken about this before, but there used to be a place called Nashwan Hall in Dubai, and this was near the, I think, not the skate rink. I don't think it exists anymore. But there used to be busloads of people coming down from Abu Dhabi to watch the gigs in Dubai. And that was crazy. Like, I was just like, the ingenuity. And now to think about it, it seems like, oh, you have so much choice. But those gigs were something else, man. I mean,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
had people losing their shit, mosh pits, and all of that. And at the end of the day, all these people you saw just go to the local Hardee's or whatever
yes, exactly that.
fast food shop, post that, and just catch up post gigs because no one had access to alcohol legally then, right? So what a
Yeah,
huge
yeah.
change then. But okay, let's do this then. Since we've talked so much, I'm gonna play like a couple of tracks.
Hmm.
First, I think since we've already talked about Discord, uh, and I'm apologizing in advance. Sorry, Vineet, I had to do this because these tracks don't exist. But I've actually found a track called Deceived by Discord. Uh,
Ooh, okay.
do you
I
remember
think this
anything of that?
was after my time.
Okay, you weren't.
But play it. Let's see if I recall it. Wow, yeah, I know this song.
You know this
I
song?
do know this song. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's
Tell
just
me.
that, but still, this was done after I left Discord. This was when they started really getting crazy with the riffs. It's man, it feels weird to hear Sham's voice because yeah,
Yeah.
he's not here anymore. So it makes me feel a little bit weird, but I mean, just hear the quality, dude, and
Yeah,
how
yeah. And
much we strive for quality nowadays, that something as little as a slight bend of a guitar string will pop and people will make fun of it. But back then, who gave a damn, dude? We would record anything and everything and just like publish it saying that, yo, take it. This is what we have and this is what we're putting out. That's it.
yeah,
Seriously,
and
man.
I've heard this track also with you right now after so long. And what tells me is just look at the quality of the drum programming, right? Because this is
Yeah.
all
Yeah.
recorded at home and programmed at home. But okay, while before we get all more nostalgic, here's the track "Deceived by Discord." That was deceived by Discord, complete shot in time back from what I'd say, like probably what, 2011, 12, I think. Yeah, because I think I'd already moved to India by then when Discord really kicked off. Although I did
Yeah.
see one gig by Discord. I don't know whether it was the gig that they played without vocals, because at one point, remember, they were just instrumental and doing stuff. And the reason I'll never forget that gig, and please, Vineet, kick my ass if you're listening to this, because I was the drummer for Discord because they were playing such technical stuff. They couldn't find a live drummer. So Vineet, the night before or 2 nights before, had programmed the drums. And I was the guy, they would just look at the back of the console and I just hit space bar every time before they started because they had that. But another band you kind of talked about, and you again shared members with your previous band, Shot of Adrenaline, was Billy Bob's. And I've actually had Adnan.
Man, that's crazy. I didn't even, like, why did I not bring up Billy Bob's? It just goes to show, man, like the amount of bands that were coming and going, I kind of lost track.
No, it's crazy because I actually spoke to Adnan, who was in Who Will Guard the Guardians back then. And he was like, why the fuck do you have those tracks? Delete them or whatever, right? But tell me what's like one of your memories from Billy Bob's back then?
And Billy Bob's as a band was supposed to be grindcore. And we went from grindcore to technical grindcore because, again, look at the members in there. It was me, Joe, Vineet, and on drums it was Josh, and of course Shams was on vocals. Like the only guy who used to cry every time we wrote a song was Josh. Like he wanted to shoot himself in the face every time there was a new track that was either made by Joe, either made by me, or either made by Vineet. And it was, a very, very chaotic band, extremely chaotic. And we used to write whatever the hell we wanted. Because at the end of the day, grindcore also is such, right? It's going to be fast, it's going to be loud, and like non-stop. But so now you can imagine technical grindcore. So you're fooling around with all these funky ass riffs, but at the same time you want to play it at a speed which is like, it's insanity what we were trying to pull off. Another, like, the only fact is that I felt like this band didn't last long enough. Like, to be very honest, on the sad side, this was like the dream team. Don't get me wrong, Josh was there, but of course he had to leave and he was going to another country, settling down. He moved to Germany. So again, we were stuck without a drummer. And we all know very well how Dubai is when it comes to drummers. Like, if you find one, you've literally found a diamond. And he needs to be good, of course. But yeah, it's incredibly difficult to find drummers out here. So again, another band that started off well, but couldn't push further because of losing a drummer to begin with. And then eventually we just sort of started drifting away from the band. So yeah, but we made fun music. I have got to agree, this was like the most fun I had when it came to making music because nobody cared. Just like write whatever the hell you want.
Okay, so there is a split that you all did with the Jordanian band Who Will Guard the Guardians. I've got 3 tracks. Take your pick. Which track you'd like me to play from them?
Play Timepass Membrane. I remember the name. I mean, look at the name of the track, man. It's called Timepass Membrane. Like, what and why?
Let's
I think I can remember when it's really real.
That was another blast from the past, so to say, nostalgia, all the way to Billy Bob's Drunken Crew, Bunch Crew. I forget what is it.
Blood drenched brew.
Blood drenched. Oh my god! And it's crazy. I also have on my old blog an interview I had done with you guys from back in the day, and this I think
Oh,
was
wow.
again I had moved out of UAE, so I still remember. And yeah, unfortunately, sorry, Adnan, Vineet, and everyone else who were part of the bands. The album, the split as it's called, is on Bandcamp for everyone to listen. So go
Wow.
back and check
I
that
didn't
out.
even I didn't even know that it's on Bandcamp.
Yeah, it's one of
Wow.
those early albums, I think, or EPs I remember on Bandcamp. But, we're talking about such a long time. You kind of touched upon this at the start of our chat that you kind of went on a hiatus, took a break for a decade or so. So much has happened since then, right? And I've been as a third person kind of from the outside, kind of looking in at all of these changes that's happened. Um, you're seeing a lot of bands now play, you know, pubs, bigger shows. You're seeing so many international acts come in. Correct me if I'm wrong. Billy Bob's opened for Obscura back in the day.
Correct. Yeah. Yeah. Back then, yeah.
Wow,
We did open
wow,
for Obscura. Man,
crazy.
going back then, what times, dude? I mean, what bands we could open up for back then, but I don't know, man. We are still getting bands out here in Dubai, but again, it cannot compare with what you all guys get in India.
Uh,
That's for sure.
yeah, yeah, and I mean it's
No
just
comparison.
yeah. I mean just to kind of also talk about right because Vineet again I know he's coming up quite a bit in the conversation, but one of the few guys who actually had a video camera back then. So I think there are a few gig videos of Billy Bob's from
Yeah.
back then. But let's do a bit of comparison, right? And now, since you're back again active with Cypher, I know you've swapped instruments and stuff like that. But what do you kind of, if you had to do a compare and contrast, right? What's, say, a couple of great things now that you're seeing bands have access to compared to just before you kind of hung up your base, so to say, and what's kind of missing from there? So let's start with the good stuff, I'd say.
Yeah, I mean, if you compare today's age of music, like on a positive level, it's a bit more easier. I would only say a bit more easier to get heard a lot more. Because really, in comparison to what it was before, if you're playing in Dubai means those 200 people that have come to your gig will probably either like you or hate you. But that's the only people that will actually get to really listen to your music. It still stands as a reality in today's day and age also, because I've noticed that no matter how much media you put out and how much marketing you do, at the end of the day, the main thing is to actually play live. Because once you start playing live, that's when there's a real traction and people actually see how good or bad you are. So it actually completely depends on when you first play live. That emphasis on playing live has kind of dropped now, just because of the amount of media material that we have. Like, I know bands that just don't even play live and they release track after track after track online, and they're fine with it. They don't care. They're like, whatever, man, we did our work, we did our job. People are listening to our music, and it's completely fine. But back then, man, you really needed to put in the effort to play live, that's for sure. No matter where it was, even if it was at a skate park gig, it all mattered in the end. So that is one thing I've really taken as a difference. Obviously, now I'm much older in comparison to what it was before. So the main thing I can also think about is that we technically have more money than what we had in the past. being older, working. So, you still have more capabilities. Like, for example, I would have never thought to buy myself a condenser microphone back then, even if I wasn't doing vocals. But like, if you look around, like, since we're doing a video call for now, you can actually see in the background, there's like two basses sitting there. Back then, I had one bass. There's an electric guitar over here, and there's a monster amp on my left, which you don't see right now. But yeah, all this stuff you wouldn't have access to back then because you just made do with what you could. But yeah, that's at least my perspectives. Like things have gotten easier, and at the same time, it's gotten tougher also, I would say, because you have so much out there. Like there are so many bands every single day coming out that it's hard to like keep up. I've got a friend who tries his best to like constantly send me new albums, and I'm just sitting there and scratching my head. I'm like, dude, I do not have the time for this. Like, I cannot sit and listen to 20 albums that have released in one day. That's how crazy it has become of recent. Back then, you would only know like a few good bands that you want to listen to, and you'll stick with that. Now it's just gotten way too complicated, and there's too much going on.
Yeah, I mean, I have to be honest with you, right? I've noticed this exact problem you're talking about. And by virtue of doing blogging and the podcast, there was a time I could actually keep up with music.
Yep.
Now you're dependent on like other recommendations, what people tell you about, and stuff like that. That was what you'd kind of look at. But it is getting far harder, I must say, right? I
Yep.
mean, uh, and I think you're definitely talking about it from a musician's point of view, but just think about it
Mhm.
from even a perspective of listeners, right? You only have that much of time that you can dedicate to listening to music. And if you're going to spend that time, you know, trying to look through, it becomes very, very tough, I must say.
Yep.
So,
Yeah.
yeah,
Everything
I
is
can imagine.
overwhelming now, man. Everything is overwhelming. Like any sort of topic that I bring up, there's going to be like 2,000 articles on it. So it's just so hard to keep up. And I think also that it comes a bit with also the age that we are at right now, and your perspective on how much time you devote to certain things is like, yeah, it's completely whack now.
Yeah. But
I mean,
the,
just look at the situation with your son as well. So it's like he's just there, right?
yeah.
And you cannot really get your full undivided attention into one topic without any other external factor coming in between.
So I want to quickly go back and kind of talk about your reintroduction into bands again. What kind of sparked that? Was there like a certain moment where you were like, okay, let's give it a shot again there? Because let's be honest, right? Like you said, it's not easy uh, getting back into music. You're married, family kind of commitments and stuff like that. How did you become part of Cypher?
Yes, this is kind of funny to be honest. So the main thing was that all the members currently in the band, I would say minus Mehdi and Ahmed Kohli. So Ahmed Imadi is one of my really, really close friends from again like 15, 16 years, and who used to play black metal. And when I say black metal, he used to play that dirty, grimy black metal where you would record it on like a small little cassette tape and be happy about the sound. That's how bad his music was, personally speaking. But yeah, it's just the fact that he also did take a very long hiatus. He completely stopped listening to music. But out of the blue, he started listening to like prog and gent music. And at the time, he started liking it, which was obviously like around, it was very recent, to be honest, like 3 to 4 years ago. And one of his friends was sitting in his house, and he told Ahmed that, dude, if you want to write music like this, why don't you contact Aaron? And he's looking at him with this strange face, like, seriously, Aaron? for music like of this level with Tesseract and Sky Harbor and stuff. He's like, dude, he literally only listens to that stuff now. I mean, that was kind of wrong because I still listen to my other dirty shit as well. But the fact is that me being a singer back in the day, I just had a more soft corner for this sort of music because it's beautiful music also at the end of the day. Like even a normal individual would listen to like a track from Sky Harbor and be like, oh wow, this is like it's beautiful. Even if it's like slightly heavier than your normal pop song, but it's still nice at the end of the day. So he gave me a call and I was like very surprised. I was like, okay, this is very strange to me, but then we sat together and he put a Tesseract song on and he said, Yalla, start singing. And I started singing. And he was like just standing there with his eyes big, like, are you serious right now? He's like, where the hell have you been hiding? And I'm like, I haven't been hiding. It's just that I chose not to do it because I enjoyed playing tech music. And tech music is never going to have singing, that's for sure. But from that day onwards, he said, Yalla, we are starting a new band and let's kickstart whatever we can come up with. And literally from that day forward, we just started creating music. All of a sudden, we had two tracks already. And then it just started blowing up little by little, but it did start blowing up from that perspective because then we onboarded Nishit after that, which was a huge surprise again because he's another tech death grindcore thrash metal boy. And it was a huge surprise to hear that, yeah, bro, let's start something again. Let's do some gent music. It's going to be a new project for me. I've never done this before. And before you know it, we're sitting here with five members in the band. And by the way, I'm not sure if you've actually got a chance to converse or even reach out to this guy called Ahmed Kohli. But if you see his history, you'll be surprised. And I was surprised that he's sitting in Dubai, by the way. But yeah, so he's our drummer of recent now. But this is how it all started. And yeah, now we know the rest is history. Praying and hoping that this EP will bloody get out of our hands and we can finally publish some music to people. So yeah, that's pretty much how it started.
Okay, so w- and this goes all the way back, and I'm just actually looking this up in August when at least listeners got a first taste of Cypher because I played Digital Vortex
Mm.
uh, there. You'll have put out two singles so far, right?
Yes, yes. So Digital Vortex and Vacuous Beings. Yeah, that's these are the two tracks right now.
Okay, so tell me how those kind of tracks came together. I mean, of course, you talked about, the various influences that you all had, uh, but how did it kind of, at which point did you all realize, hey, this, we've hit on this sound, and then started kind of writing and putting all of it together?
Yeah, so if you're talking about from influence perspective, I will definitely say that it's so obvious that we have this whole Tesseract, Sky Harbor, Cloud Kicker, ambient vibe going on. So Ahmed had this picture in his head where he wants ambient music, and of course, he wants a little bit of progginess to it. And this was initially when it was only a two-man band, which was me and him alone. But that's why you can see a vast difference, yeah, between Digital Vortex and Vacuous Beings. Digital Vortex, in my ears and in my eyes, is still considered our weakest track at this point. And it's like literally, it's it's crazy from where to where we've come because now once the EP releases, you all will see a huge difference in the next two tracks. Like production wise, sound wise, what style we have in general. But again, if you're going back to only Digital Vortex and Vacuous, it was like a mix of these sort of bands, your Tesseracts, your Sky Harbors, and a little bit of, I wouldn't say periphery yet, but you will see that in the future tracks, that's for sure. But yeah, once Nishit joined the band, that's when the musical direction also changed a bit. Because Nishit, as a guitarist, is one of those people who does not like playing things like normal riffs. He has to complicate it. That's it. Which Ahmed does not like. But yeah, this is the package that you got. So yeah, that's pretty much how it was made at the time.
Okay, so since I've already played Digital Vortex, let's play Vacuous Beings, give
Mhm.
everyone a taste of that, and then let's talk more about your upcoming EP.
Entrapped human minds, penniless and so high. The more vacuous I am, the more emptiness I feel inside. Just get me drunk by the loop of light. Run to a home, but that's alright. Intertwine, I shall break. God phase 3, back to misery. Your final phase, I can't even portray. Red herring or lie, you're just a bone of reprise. The more I see your twiddling thumbs move, I'd rather be slightly awake than you. Don't you make me feel like I'm your force field. Just go back to what your belly could afford. Intoxicate your barren soul, wasting away your faithless love. Just swear to know, to leave the blindfold. Turn back to face your own failures. Tearing away from all the shame. Play the game of fear to change. Twirl and dance the walk of shame. Stare barefaced, your smile so fake.
Okay, that was Vacuous Beings by Cypher. Now, you've kind of hinted on it. So, you've talked about an EP being in the cans, all recorded. Those who heard Digital Vortex and Cypher, Vacuous Beings, what can they expect in terms of sound? And now you've got like multiple members. What can you tell us about? Do you have a title as yet for the EP that you can share? Exclusive to the podcast?
It's Yeah, I mean, it is literally self-titled Cypher. So it's going to be called Cypher. We didn't choose to have a separate name as such because it's being our first thing as an EP. So we said, okay, let's just keep it as is. Don't want to overcomplicate things.
Okay, awesome. Uh, what more can you share at least about the EP so far with us?
Okay, so this EP has taken a hell lot of time, and I'm quite annoyed by it. So it's just the fact that because Cypher got signed with Wormhole Death, they told us that you have to do a list of things. And that list of things was literally never ending. That checklist literally made all of us lose a lot of hair. So at the end of the day, it's only a 4 EP track, but it shouldn't take this long to get things out. But the reality was that we are all working class citizens. We all have different things going on. We just added new members to the band, so all that gelling also had to continue. But what I can say from a comparison of what is to come, at least the next two tracks that you will listen to, you as a listener will definitely be surprised by its production level and the style of the music. It is very, very fun and very, very mellow and soothing also at the same time. So, in comparison to the two tracks before, it's like a journey, to be honest, because out of these four tracks, I feel like they all are different in one way or the other. And you will notice that based on who has written the track.
Oh,
So, for example, one of the new tracks is written purely by Mehdi, and you can understand straight away, okay, this is a Mehdi track. Then one track is completely written, not, I wouldn't say completely written, but it's a combination of Imadi and Mehdi on it. And you can see that it's a little bit mellow, but it's got its technicalities from the prog and the polyrhythms and all that big terms that they use. So yeah, I would say we've definitely gotten better, and I pray and hope people think we've gotten better. But yeah, so the music was one thing, but the entirety of the checklist that was received to complete the EP was irritating to a level of no return because we had to make a music video, we had to get all the lyrics ready, we had to make sure our music is published in WAV and MP3, and the list goes on and on and on, and taking images of each other. Yeah, it was very, very annoying because again, I go back to the fact that we all have our families and we all have a life, and devoting time to music in itself is a pain in the ass, that's for sure.
yeah. I'm not going to compare things, but I know what you mean. Like when you do it as something as you just purely enjoy, it's
Yeah.
completely different. And yeah, it's kind of crazy, right? Like sometimes when you're doing something creative, you really reach that point where you're like, and pardon my French, but like, what the fuck am I doing here? At which point did I think this was a great idea to kind of get
Yeah.
into, right? Uh, cool, awesome. So I'm guessing now that you'll have a complete lineup, you're also looking at live gigs. So
Yes.
for everyone who's still listening, do stay tuned for that. And I think, you're due for another episode for sure. We'll get in other members and kind of talk more about that once the release date is all set. So, yeah, looking forward
Yeah,
to
I
that.
mean, to be honest, I was actually supposed to bring Nishit on this call, but that just slipped my mind because I had a full day of doing other things. So yeah, as I mentioned.
No,
Oh
it's all
well,
good.
there's always going to be a second time. So
100%, 100%. Looking forward to that. But you know what? I don't think it'll be a complete episode if we don't go full circle to what we kind of started talking about, which is about all UAE bands and, just the kind of music that we kind of got into listening. So this is a bit of a tough one, and let's see. We look up some of these tracks if we can't find them, or so give me a couple of options maybe. But both of us, let's take one pick. If you had to kind of go back and look at any UAE band which completely blew your mind, like, fuck, I still can't believe, like, all these years later that this band actually existed and we got to hear their music and stuff like that. Which band would that be?
can I be an asshole and say Discord?
Of course, I mean, you're the guest. I can't
I
deny
mean,
you
what
that.
what can I say? It's like that was the only band that actually stood out. But again, it's subjective, right? I will have a different choice. You would have a different choice. In reality, some people will say Coat of Arms is still the best band out of the bunch. And in my eyes, I mean, it's not my genre, so I wouldn't pick them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, for me, it was definitely what Discord could pull off. Like from a writing perspective, from a technicality perspective, it was insanity. And you would never think that would come out of a small little house based out of industrial side of Sharjah. No way in hell. But yeah, that literally is my choice.
that was Discord, and I'm glad to hear, Aaron, that you still kind of look back at that band very fondly. This my pick actually is a band that I kind of spoke about on the episode that I did with Aboard, and it's a band called Nephelium. And for me, I have to be honest, right? I don't think I've spoken much on the podcast before, but Nephelium were a very interesting mix of band members. And I think the vocalist that they had in Dubai, you would be familiar with Bilal. Yeah. So he was, again, one of those guys that was truly a phenomenal vocalist. For me, Nephelium, their transition from a black metal band to like a technical death metal band was truly something. And I think what's really telling also is that they were doing this in a space where people didn't really understand technical death metal and stuff. And these guys were like easily, individually also some of the best instrumentalists, right? I mean, you had Alan on drums, you had Alex on guitars. These guys were truly phenomenal. And a further testament to that was the fact that, Alan and Alex decided to move to Canada, restart the band with different members, and they released their album in 2012 to much acclaim again over there, right? And they kind of had their thing playing live and stuff like that. But the track I'm going to play is one that was written back then in Dubai, which then later on also made it on their debut album, Coils of Entropy. It's a track called Merciless Annihilation. Here it is. that was Nephelium with Merciless, Annihilation. YouTube is such a beautiful place of and archives. There's actually a video of the Dubai lineup doing the track Merciless Annihilation. There's someone named Joe Fitz who actually made a video for them. So I'm going to link that. If you want a snapshot of what it was like being in a metal band in UAE, that gives you a good idea. But man, Aaron, I think we can do this a lot more. So I'm going to leave some for the next conversation that we have about Cypher. But thanks so much, man. Really appreciate you kind of taking me through your entire journey and kind of telling me what's to come forward with Cypher.
Dude, this was awesome. I'm so sorry for not doing this earlier and me being a slight prick and rescheduling a couple of times, but now I'm feeling really bad about it. And this was, the time just flew by. And yeah, this felt like a simple conversation that you'd have with a friend on the phone, literally.
But cool, we'll definitely be in touch and looking forward to having you with the rest of the members on the band.
Will do 100%, bro. Thanks, man.
And that was Aaron Wadia of Cypher. I hope you enjoyed that nostalgic trip that we took you down. Definitely stay tuned for more information from the Cypher EP release. I plan on getting more members of the band once that EP is released. As always, hit subscribe on the platform that you're listening to this podcast on. Follow me on social media, just search for Trendcrusher, and let me know what other stories you want to hear from maybe, I don't know, Indian bands, other UAE bands. You know how to reach out to me, trendcrusher@gmail.com. That's all I got for this week. See you soon.